Hi everyone, welcome to our one more video on our series in XAT, Blunders to Avoid in XAT. I'm Amit Panchmatia and Chief National Mentor at IMS. Now, let's start with the first blunder, mismanaging time. Now, what happens in XAT, you've been taking tests, different tests like CAT and MAT and all the other tests where there is sectional time limit. So you're so used to having say 40, 45 minutes or whatever given to you specifically in a particular section, and suddenly you find a test where there is 170 minutes and they haven't told you how can you allocate your time, but you do need to allocate time well, and hence spending too much time on one particular section or too little time on one section can be very, very harmful. And also such things go for questions, because sometimes that questions can be very long, they can be slightly tedious to read, and people start spending too much time on such questions. Be careful with that. How to avoid such things? Have a plan about the order in which you're going to go about a section. So for example, if I was writing the test, I would definitely have gone for QADI first, and then maybe DM and then verbal. But that depends from person to person. There is no right and wrong over here. You can have whatever order you want based on your comfort. And obviously, whatever order you're planning that is the order you should have practiced in your mocks also. Allocate time to each section and move on if the question is too tricky. So, I normally tell people that move on quickly from a question. If you find the question too tricky, don't waste too much time on it. Lack of sectional balance, your preparation, not only your time, but your preparation also is important in terms of lack of sectional balance. Excelling in one section but performingly poor in others, not going to help you. Why? Because that will have sectional cutoffs. So if you excel in Quant but are going to do very, very poor in DM, there's no point. Your sectional cutoffs will not be cleared, and hence it will always be an issue. So please ensure that you clear your sections cutoff. Suppose, for example, somebody is struggling to clear DM cutoffs. It is okay to take 10 minutes from the other section and give it to DM so that you're able to clear the cutoff. Over-reliance on CAT prep. Now, this is the most common problem. People think, I have prepared for CAT. What is the worry? I don't need to worry so much about XAT. Completely incorrect. Okay. You will need to work on XAT. So XAT will have unique things. What are the different unique things in XAT? You need to work on the DM section. Why? Because that's a unique section only to XAT. How do you work on the DM section? We've spoken that about in detail. But the most common thing I will tell you, or the most important thing I will tell you, is to work on the past year questions of DM. Last 5 to 6 years of DM XAT, from the past 5 to 6 years of XAT papers, I would have done all the DM questions and understood what is the logic which the examiner is trying to take. Practice enough XAT mocks and past XAT papers. Also, XAT verbal has a poem that is a unique part to XAT. Negative marking. Now, there is a lot being spoken about it. And because of that, student attempt too many questions. That can be a big blunder. Why? Because of that negative 0.1 for questions which unattempted questions out of the first 8 unattempted questions. I think it is all rubbish. You should just forget it and do not even think about that. Don't attempt any extra questions only because there is a negative 0.1. We have spoken about it earlier also. I am speaking about it again. If you attempt 5 to 6 more questions just because you think that you don't want to, that the negative 0.1, you will actually, I'm telling you, get more negative than what you would have got. So don't worry about that. Next one, decision making. The decision to be or not to be. Blunder, treating the decision making section lightly. A lot of people think, oh, it is very logical. I have done LR, I can do decision making. I have done RCs, I can do decision making. Decision making is more like RCs. There is different vague replies I keep hearing from people. Completely wrong. Marking answers to DM on gut feeling. Please, that's something we should definitely avoid. That is a blunder. How do you focus on it? Focus on ethical dilemmas, business scenarios, and logical reasoning. Now, please remember ethical dilemma. Decision making, may you always take the answer on ethics. What is ethically correct? What not you feel I would have done in the situation, right? What is ethically correct? So, for example, last year there was a set where the maid has to say something. Think from that perspective. Will a maid confront the owner? There was, I was reading that passage, and the first one of the options said the maid will confront the owner. The maid is never going to confront the owner. The word confront is such a strong word over there, and hence that is not the option, and that is how you eliminate options. Learn to eliminate options. That's going to be very important. business decisions, how decisions are taken based on business and so on, right? But again, ethics over business, and that is how you work on it. Mark your answers based on logical conclusions. This section often becomes the differentiator, the make or the break section. A student getting 10 or 12 marks in decision making can really change everything in the XAT section. Obviously, getting 10, 12 marks in decision making can be very difficult. So please do that carefully. QADI, I love numbers. Blunders, not preparing for algebra, higher maths and DI and taking DI lightly. People think, okay, it's regular DI, I should be able to manage it. Prepare for it. Go through the past few papers and see how the DI is. Questions are long, only 2 or 3 questions per set, and hence amount of time taken per set becomes higher and so on. This section will be very important to clear the overall cutoff. Why? Because more questions, more doable section. Very frankly, if somebody will ask me, not just because I'm a quant person, but somebody will ask me which is the most doable section in XAT, I think it's QADI. Why? Because DM is unique. Verbal answers, even the verbal faculties talk about it as being vague. So hence, QADI is at least your sure shot that this is the answer or this is not the answer, right? Otherwise, the other 2 sections, the accuracy will always be slightly low. VALR, poetry is not music to my ears. Well, very frankly, there is no choice. Now, XAT will have a poem, in RC or RC of XAT, there will be a poem. Now, what is a blunder which you can make? Skipping the poem without reading it or without thinking about it, just because it's a poem. Now, there have been a couple of years that the poem has been very easy and students have got those 2 or 3 questions very easily. So please do not make that blunder. The other thing which you have to be careful in verbal is attempting all the short questions first. Vocab, parajumbles and grammar. Should definitely attempt those questions first. That will be approximately 7 questions. If you can get that right itself, you're very close to the cutoffs. Now, the next part is all about the motivational part of the burnout before the exam. Blunder, not building a stamina for a 3-hour test. Now, all the other tests have been 2.5 hours maximum. And suddenly XAT, 170 minutes plus the GK section comes to close to 180 minutes and a 3-hour test. Reaching the center 1 hour, 1.5 hours before and traveling for it. For example, I've got center at some far off place, 2 hours from my place, and hence that total time frame of 5 to 6 hours is building stamina for that is very, very important. Second is don't over prepare and stress out. That is also a blunder which people make. You can't stress out right before the exam, right? Avoidance, maintain a balance, take some breaks, get good sleep, remain calm. In fact, during the test, if you feel that, oh, you're really getting stressed, you can take a 30-second break between one section to the other section. The test is a long test. 30 section 2 times will 30 seconds 2 times will not make too much of a difference, I think so. So please do that. Take your mocks carefully, take it at the right time frame. You know that the XAT is from 2 to 5. So take the mocks also in the same time frame and so on. So that is all about blunders to avoid in XAT and do XAT well. Best of luck and Happy New Year to you.